Permanent Secretary in the Department of Economic Development, Transport and Civil Aviation, Philip Dalsu, said he is pleased thus far with the outcome of the first 2 weeks of the Social and Economic Labs. Completed is the pre-lab phase, which engaged various stakeholders from across the island in intense discussions on creating a vision and core priorities for the 6 areas government has identified to develop a medium-term development strategy for St. Lucia.
Once we had established the vision and what we would like to accomplish in each of those sectors, the second week has been devoted largely to problem solving. What are some of the key issues impacting some of the critical projects and priorities in those sectors, and how can we solve these problems?
Dalsu noted that each focus group identified specific priorities for their sector. Infrastructure focused on the development of the road network, air and seaports to create capacity for economic growth. Tourism identified a number of hotel concepts across the island that investors would find attractive, while crime focused on the areas of crime prevention, detection, and improvements in the justice system.
In agriculture, the discussion revolved around the 7 priority crops that the government has identified, and how can we actually encourage farmers to grow those crops. In the area of education, there was quite a bit of discussion on technical vocational education, and Mr. Arthur Lewis Community College. Essentially, what are some of the factors that, where the education sector should be heading? So there was quite a bit of discussion there. In the area of health, the 3 big, areas of that have been identified for health has been the St. Jude Hospital, the OKEU, and the health financing, health insurance.
Honorable Guy Joseph, Minister for Economic Development, Housing, Urban Renewal, Transport and Civil Aviation, said growing the economy should be important to the entire country. He added that government has welcomed the involvement of the various stakeholders participating in the planning process.
The work of developing St. Lucia is not the responsibility of just the government. And too many times the focus is just on that of government ministers and being held accountable for everything. At the end of the day, if you do not equip the staff with the knowledge, the know-how, and what the vision plan is, then it is difficult to expect everybody to deliver on what the overall plan is for the development of St. Lucia. And so the development of the midterm strategy, which is where we want the country to be, is something that is clear to the cabinet of ministers. But getting buy-in from all of the stakeholders, whether in the private sector or in the public service, is very important.
Over the period December 3rd to the 14th, the Social and Economic Labs will focus on detailed implementation plans for the identified projects, some of which are expected to feature in the government's 2019-2020 estimates of revenue and expenditure. For the National Competitiveness and Productivity Unit, Glenn Simon reporting.